A falling wedge is a bullish pattern, so they tend to break up rather than down. Um, Obviously, this is not a guarantee. You always know that there's like a probability. So the probability of us breaking up should be like maybe 60, 70%, and breaking down should be, of course, then 40, 30% chance.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Monday, and Bitcoin is looking a little more positive than it was looking towards the end of last week. So we brought on the expert, Carl, from the moon to see if Bitcoin's going to be able to make it to the moon. You guys don't forget to subscribe to his channel down below. Hit 500,000 subscribers, so congratulations on that. Carl, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing much better ever since I broke 500K, of course,
Yeah.
thanks to your community. But yeah, I'm doing well. I mean, of course, the prices have been a little bit like we have seen some consolidation. I think the whole crypto market has been cooling down, and generally people start feeling boring. But remember, guys, for Bitcoin, there is always another pump just around the corner, and I think that's what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are, while some people feel like the market's boring, I think most of us are in agreement that we do have more upside coming. So what do you see for Bitcoin, in the coming weeks?
Yeah, exactly. Let's jump into the charts. All right. So the first very obvious thing here on the daily time frame for me and for Bitcoin would be this falling wedge that is forming. And a falling wedge is a bullish pattern. So they tend to break up rather than down. Um, Obviously, this is not a guarantee. You always know that there's like a probability. So the probability of us breaking up should be like maybe 60, 70%. And breaking down should be, of course, then 40, 30% chance. Um, and there is one thing I want to point out as well before I talk about the target of this falling wedge, and that is the huge amount of support and resistance in this area right here. I'm sure you are aware of this as well, that we have a lot of support or resistance. So from back here in January 2021, around 41 point, let's call it 41.8, but it's like more of a range, right? And then you have a couple of points here as well. So essentially, if you just isolate that like that, like this, you can see how many points of contact we have. And this is the exact level that we are right now testing, essentially. We even got a small bounce off of it in the past few hours or days here. You can see that a couple of days here, we've been just bouncing off of this level. So two things are very obvious here, in my opinion. If we break the green support box, then I think we are going to go down quite sharply. We are at the very least going to retest 38, 37 if that happens, which would be right here. That would be another big level, right? Because of some support right there. So essentially, if we break the green support box, we're heading straight down, in my opinion, to 37. Interestingly enough, this could happen and we could still be within the falling wedge, actually. As you can see here, if we scroll do this, you can see that this falling wedge could technically take us all the way down to 37 and still be a bullish setup for a potential break to the upside. Yeah, that's just something I wanted to point out. And what we also can see, obviously, for the bullish scenario is that if we break the resistance right here, then that is a good time to put in a long position. That is a great time to jump on the train, because I think we could see something like this play out where we could go up to 53K approximately, because that would be the target. Because the technical target out of a falling wedge is the top of the wedge. And in this case, it is 53K. So I think that was just a very, very quick summary rundown of what I'm seeing for the bullish scenario, for the bearish scenario. Do we have any questions on that?
Yeah, sure. So the target would be basically the top of the wedge, but that wouldn't really keep us bullish necessarily. I mean, that would kind of be us bouncing just back to where we were before. What would the chances be that we would be able to break that target and get in a kind of a macro bullish pattern?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, even if we go up like this, and if we reverse below 53K, then that would just give us a lower high and a double top, which would be obviously a bearish pattern, showing us that we might even see something like this play
Right.
out. So yeah, it is important that we kind of go above that level, showing some strength in the bulls here in the bigger time frame, showing us some higher lows, some higher highs. That would be incredible, of course. So that remains to be seen. We also do know that there is going to be some heavy resistance up in a few different points, actually. I mean, this is definitely a big point of resistance, 50K, because we have some support and some resistance. We briefly went above it, but then we got a massive, massive rejection. So breaking above 50K will actually be a big step for us. And I would say this, if we do break 50K, then I think it's very likely that we're going to go above 53K. Essentially, breaking above 53K is going to make it very, very likely that we're going to see a test of the previous all-time high up here, in my opinion, because it would be the second time we break the 50K level. And another big level to watch would be, I would say, this level right here, for very obvious reasons. That was exactly where we got rejected there. We got some support right there, some support right there, a little bit of resistance right there. And this is the 53K level. So yeah, those are the two like big lines for the bulls to really test. And it's up to the bulls to decide if they are able to do that right now or not. But
that's us, right? We're the bulls. It's us.
We are the bulls, and I'm buying. I'm holding.
Yeah. Well, I kind of looking at this. I got two other things I want to ask you about real quick. Do you see any kind of similarity in between this falling wedge, and if you were to go back and look in January and in the beginning of January 2021 there, you kind of see a similar falling wedge. Yeah, I mean, that kind of looks similar in my opinion. And if we're going to not only hit new all-time highs, but go to 100,000, that could maybe possibly be, a breakout, similar to what we're seeing now.
I mean, 100%, this was a falling wedge, just like this is a falling wedge. This falling wedge broke to the upside, met the target, and actually went way above the target. So definitely that is something we can, but I don't think that this is necessarily like it's not a fractal. It's like, there's nothing that really resembles, I mean, it's a falling wedge, but that's basically all the similarities that I can see. Back here, we were in a massive uptrend. Obviously here we have a uptrend, but it's not a
right. It's not parabolic.
It's not parabolic in that sense. I wouldn't say that it's so similar, but of course it's a falling wedge. And you can also argue that this was a falling wedge right here.
Yeah.
And this falling wedge did indeed also break to the upside. And like I said, falling wedges do tend to break to the upside. So that makes sense. And remember, we had also this big inverse head and shoulders. This is a bearish pattern. And I remember we talked about this on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially this played out also. Like, bearish patterns and bullish patterns, they tend to do what you want them to do. So that's why it's nice to trade them. I remember I made a very nice short here, for example. Here we've been longing. And so essentially we can give probabilities. The probability of us breaking to the upside here should be higher than breaking down. And that's my analysis right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, breaking this green support box would make it likelier that we're actually going to see a bearish scenario rather than the bullish scenario.
Okay, so last question I want to ask you about. A couple of weeks ago, we had talked about the large scale fractal that we were looking at, where we were looking at the top of the market with the rollover, and then we were kind of seeing something similar with this recent breakout. Now it looks like our falling wedge is much sharper than the falling wedge that we had during the dump after the May dump. Are you still seeing, similarities between that fractal and this fractal, or do you think it's become its own thing at this point?
I'm still seeing similarities, but I think that it's getting less and less similar at this point. I mean, this dump here would basically be this, would be this dump right there. And according to the fractal, we should probably go even lower here, down to 37. And at that point, we should start creating this falling wedge. So it doesn't look exactly the same at this point. But I think that, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, up until a few days ago, I still thought the fractal is going to play out, and we're still going to just shoot straight down to 37. But right now, it looks like we are forming a bullish pattern on top of a support here. So I think the next 2 days are going to have to tell us whether we're going to see the fractal play out or not. So if we do break the resistance out of this falling wedge, then the fractal, in my opinion, is out the window and it's just over. And it's not going to be something we have to pay attention to anymore. But if we do break the green support box here, then maybe that actually does indicate that we're just going to go down, retest 37, 38K, complete the fractal, and then we'll see if we're going to see, whatever the next move is going to be. But that's what I'm watching for right now.
Well, I get the feeling a lot of people think that this Q4 is going to be really bullish, starting with October. It's almost like people are saving their money for October. That's how it kind of feels right now from people that I'm talking to. They're expecting a very good October, very good November. So we'll see what happens there. Timelines are getting a little fuzzy. I think, sometime in the fall, we're going to see the top. So, things got to start moving sooner rather than later. So, Carl, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always, or as always, it's been very enlightening. You guys don't forget to go subscribe to Carl's channel. Let's get him up to 600,000. How about that? We'll go from 500 to 600,000 subscribers for Carl. And you guys leave your comments down below. Let us know where you think Bitcoin is heading to. That's all I got. Be blessed. Way out.